female. So Robert it is. When I was in the Navy, for a short period of time, I was stationed in New Zealand, in Christchurch. And there were no room in the American barracks, so I was sent over to the British barracks, where this Scotsman used to come waltzing down the aisle in his kilt and say, Robbie, me boy, let's go on town and get schnickered. It only took me one night to find out what getting schnickered meant. It meant that I picked out the tab for his drinking. But ever since then, I've preferred the name Rob or Robert. Names. You know, it's a funny thing. I can be in a crowded room or on a crowded street and hear someone say, Rob. And even if they're talking to some other guy, I turn, hoping to see a friend. But I turn. I don't turn for God. Names are funny things. When people forget my name or mispronounce it, especially my last name. There was this one chief petty officer who used to call him Clarke. Drove me nuts. I tend to think that part of me is being forgotten, not remembered. Rumi, a 12th century Turkish poet, wrote a poem that goes something like this. We name things by how many legs they have, but the one who dwells in eternity names them according to what is inside. Abraham had a staff. He thought its name was possibly serpent. But God knew its name was powerful agent and freer of people. Adam and Eve saw a serpent and thought its name was the one who despises God, while the one who dwells in eternity knows that its name is the one who does my will. No one knows another person's name until their last breath goes out. Names. In the Gospels, during Easter, we learn about names changing. Simon Peter is no longer Simon Peter, but simply Peter, which oddly enough in both Hebrew and Greek, Petrus translates into rock. And Jesus claims that upon this rock I will build my church. And Saul, who persecuted the Christians because they were heretical and no longer Jewish, after he was blinded, his name became Paul. And there are so many other instances in the gospel when names change. And usually, when names change, it means they have moved that much closer to God, that they speak to God. This is why Abraham became known as the Hebrew, and Elijah became known as Israel. Names change. In the temple, the Jews gathered around Jesus and said, "Tell us,